welcome to 10 Tips to Countdown to Training. I'm Helen, the Cheesecake Runner, and today I'm going to be giving you some tips to help you understand the phasing of your training plan, of the plan that you've selected. So it's nearly time to restart training for autumn marathons. Have you found a plan to follow? If not, right now, a few weeks before we kick off training, now is a brilliant time before you start training to find yourself a plan and take a look at it to understand how it's structured to give yourself the best chance of summer training success. In this video, I'm going to explain the 3 phases of training and what to expect each month so you can hit the ground running this summer. So, have you ever wondered why you seem to start training from scratch? The first few weeks of your training plan look super easy, and I know you're probably tempted to jump in with much harder work. Are you confused about the final few weeks and why training sort of falls off, almost falls off a cliff? And what is it all about in week 4 or week 5 when you look as though you're back at the beginning, where everything looks a little bit easy again? So in this short video, I'm going to explain the 3 training blocks you'll most likely find in your marathon training plan and what they're aiming to do and why. So let's start off. So a typical marathon training plan will have about 3 or 4 blocks of training. And what you will find is between each block, you'll have what's called a recovery week. And that's the week where you'll see in your plan, everything looks a little bit easier. Your long runs, they might have been building up to quite a long run, but they suddenly drop right back. You're not going to be pushing so hard in threshold training, speed work or hill work. And there is a massive temptation to think, that looks far too easy. I can keep pushing. I'm much fitter than that. What does my plan think I am? But it's important that you pay attention to your plan and you use these recovery weeks. So those weeks are recovery weeks. So why do we have them in our marathon training? So marathon training, building fitness, running strength and endurance, it's just not a linear process. So let's think about what we're actually doing in our training. So what we're doing when we go out training, when we go out running, is we're stressing our body, okay? And by doing the training in our plans, we're looking to stimulate growth and build the strength and fitness in our bodies. And for our bodies to adapt to the stresses that we've put under it. So we need to make sure that we allow time and allow a period of downtime or sort of downtime for our bodies to recover from the stresses we put them under and to repair. So it's important to build that strength, build endurance and build our fitness through our marathon training, that we allow our body and our muscles to build strong, and that's when the recovery periods, those recovery weeks, are just so important for us. So that's what they're for. It's when your body recovers, it repairs, and that's when it builds strong. And that's where you're going to be building that running strength and the running stamina. So to get fit, and especially to get marathon fit, we need to give our body a sort of stimulus and give it some stress, and then we need to allow it to recover. If you're constantly stressing your body, pushing it harder and harder, we're not allowing those recovery and repair to happen, then it's kind of like a rubber band. If you're pulling a rubber band and you keep pulling and keep pulling, at some point it's going to break. And that's the same with our bodies. So my first big tip for you is to pay attention to those recovery weeks. if you don't take your recovery week seriously early on in your training, you're more likely to succumb to overtraining, niggles and injuries when you're deeper and deeper into your training plan. So pay attention to those recovery weeks. So what you'll probably find in your training plan, you'll probably have 3 or 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks of hard running where the training is going to be building and building and building. And then you'll have that cutback week. So allow that cutback week, use that cutback week to allow your body to repair. Now, I know it can be tempting in that week to just keep bashing out hard runs, or if you're thinking, yes, I'm going to take it really seriously, Cheesecake Runner has told me I need to back off my running, it can then be tempting to get on the bike or do some other hard training work. But seriously, guys, you need to be thinking about the end result. The end result is you having a fabulous day, fabulous running on race day. So take that recovery week seriously. Okay, so now let's look at your training plan and what's actually happening over the course of your 16-week or your 20-week training plan. So take a look at the first few weeks. You might think those first 4 weeks, they look super easy with long runs that aren't really very long. But those first 4 weeks are really, really critical. The first 4 weeks in your training plan is all about building sort of that base strength, that base fitness, okay? And this is your opportunity to learn to run your running workouts right and to build your base running strength. So make sure that you are taking that opportunity where the running doesn't look that intense, to make sure that first you are running your long runs slowly, so that you're helping your body become adapted to burning fat for fuel, and that you're also pushing super hard in some of your harder threshold training, your hill running, that's also in that part of your training plan. Running everything at average doesn't get best results. So use that training block to really learn how to do those running workouts right. So that's the first training block, and it very often is that sort of foundation level of training. After that block, what you will find is your training plan and the training and the running and everything starts to ramp up. And it seriously ramps up, and your long runs get longer and longer each week. And it's the start of this block of training I see most first timers begin to struggle. They're already 4 to 6 weeks into training and they've been running regularly, and if running isn't or wasn't a big part of your daily routine or your weekly routine, it can be a little bit mental struggle as well, getting used to running every couple of days, maybe 3 or 4 times a week. There's also a long way to go to race day, and what I often find about 6 weeks into training, tempers can get tight, and I do see this with a lot of people. You know, it's like your frustrations start to come out. You're feeling a bit tired, a bit agitated with life. So just bear that in mind. Count 6 weeks down the road from your training, and just put a mark in your calendar just to warn your friends and family that you're around that you might be a little bit fractious. This year that's going to happen in July, and stresses are high due to lockdown and the stress around the coronavirus. So if you're training as well and you're adding that stress on, you might be feeling a little bit feisty and tetchy during July, especially if we're still largely in lockdown and holidays have been cancelled. The kids are free with nothing to do. It's hot and you've got to go and running again. So that's a little bit of advice for you. Just take note that it is perfectly natural to be feeling a little bit stressed about your running, a little bit tired, a little bit fractious about 6 weeks in to your training plan. Okay, so after the frustrations of July, you're going to find August, or the back end of July, once you've got over that sort of ness, you'll find that your training then starts to build, and it starts to build quite seriously, okay? And your long runs are going to get longer and longer and longer, and your midweek training is also going to become more and more intense. And the training will build to a peak at the end of the month. So what you will find is that you'll be running your longest final long run at the back end of August or beginning of September, but depending on the plan you are following and when you started your training and the date of your marathon. And then after your longest run, early September, running is going to start. Your training plan will start sort of easing off quite a bit during September. And the back end of training, the final few weeks, if you're running an October marathon, September will be the month where we are what's called tapering. And it's important to take taper seriously. So if you were training for a spring marathon, probably got largely, most of us will have got almost to our longest training run, and we didn't really have an opportunity to experience taper. So what I would say, if this is going to be your first marathon, please take taper seriously. I've run 13 marathons. I'm now training for another 3 this autumn, fingers crossed. And the first couple of races that I ran, I didn't take my training plan seriously, and I definitely didn't take taper seriously. And I just thought that it looked a bit wimpish. You know, everything was getting a little bit easier. I was feeling the fittest I had ever been. And all of a sudden, my plan is asking me not to run and not to go out and do epic training runs. But it was a massive, massive mistake. And I had some terrible races the first few marathons I run. So it's really, really important to take taper seriously. You will see that the final few weeks of your training plan and your running, your long runs start to ease up in your plan. And it's important that you do too. And taper is when our bodies start to recover and repair from the hard work we've subjected it to through our training period. So come race day, we're refreshed, fighting fit and ready to run. So just like I was talking about the importance of taking those recovery weeks and being serious about those recovery weeks, you need to be super serious about your taper weeks, because marathon training, it's about the running. Yes, it is about the running. It's about pushing our bodies as beyond where they've ever been pushed before. But equally important is repair and recovery. Without repair and recovery, you're not going to give yourself a great chance of having a fabulous race. And without repair and recovery, you put yourself at risk of not starting your race through niggles and injuries. So take a look at your training plan today and work out the 3 phases of your training. So take a look and see where the build phase of your training, the initial phase, how long that is lasting, and when your first recovery week is going to take place. And then we're going to pay attention to that recovery week. Have a look at that build phase, the phase through July and August where training is just going to ramp up, and your long runs are going to get longer and longer and longer. Take a look at how that is structured, what sort of effort you're going to need to put in right through the summer, and then have a look to see what your plan says about taper. Try and identify when your longest run is and how the runs are then going to be cutting back all the way to race day. So if you've had a bit of time out over the last few months and you're a little bit worried about restarting your training, then watch out for an invite to my free 7-day training kickstart that's going to start on the 1st of June. So if you're running London or another one of the autumn marathons, June is probably the time when you're going to need to be starting a 16-week training plan. I think today marks the day of starting a 20-week training plan for London. So good luck if you're just about to start your 20-week training plan. But if you're following a 16-week plan, that we're going to start that training in June. So what I'm doing, starting the 1st of June, we're going to be starting, it's almost like a kickstart to get you going. So in this free coaching series, I'm going to help you with getting your training runs right. It really is going to be a start to your training. It's almost like a foundation of your foundation running. We're going to be trying out over 7 days. We're going to be trying different runs that you're going to be finding in your training plan so that you understand what they're all about and can hit the ground running when you start training for good. So we're going to be trying things like speed work, hill running, and I'm going to be coaching you about getting your long runs right and getting your long run pacing right. So we're also going to be doing some conditioning work, and I'm going to be giving you some coaching workshops through that week as well, with tips to help you get trained, ready and prepared to start your training. So leave a message in the comments if you're interested in a free 7-day summer training kickstart, if you'd like to get in and come and join. And then I will post a link for you to join in the next few days. But in the meantime, make sure you've downloaded the Ultimate Marathon Preparation Guide for loads of tips and advice to get started this summer for first timers. So watch out tomorrow. I will be coming live again tomorrow with our next tip to get your training off to a great start. I hope you found this video useful. If you have, please share it with all your running friends who are also training for their first marathon this autumn. And I shall see you tomorrow for our next tip. Okay, take care. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye.